Today, Kari Lake closes in on Katie Hobbs. Lauren Boebert narrowly takes the lead over Democrat Adam Frisch, and MSNBC wants John Fetterman to run for president. We've got all of that coming up and more, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, and I'm really excited because I got a full table today. We got Jaco, BlazeTV contributor and host of The Bottom Line, also joined by Joel Berry. He is the managing editor of the Babylon Bee, also author of the Postmodern Pilgrim's Progress. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, it's really hard. I still can't do it.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
I mean, no pressure. We're just expecting you to be like really funny. There's
not a lot of funny subject matter today.
That's fair. That's fair. Also joined, of course, by Pat Gray, host of Pat Gray Unleashed, which you can find not only on BlazeTV, but wherever you get your podcast. So make sure that you are subscribed to that. I feel like every show this week I have to give an update of where we currently stand as of the time of this taping with the House and the Senate. So the House currently at 209 Republicans, 191 Democrats, obviously 218 needed for the majority. The Senate is currently at 48 Democrats, 49 Republicans. And again, this is ever changing. So as of the time of this taping, which is only taped a couple hours before it actually goes to air, but things are changing at a very rapid pace these days. But Katie Hobbs still maintains a small lead. We're talking 13,000 votes over Kari Lake in Arizona. It's within 1 percentage point with 76% of the vote in. And remember, when these results were initially posted on Tuesday night, Hobbs had a 180,000 vote lead over Kari Lake. And earlier today, chairman of the Maricopa County Board, again, Bill Gates, that's his name, I'm not making it up. Yeah. They said that they won't be done counting now until next week. Do we have the, yeah. Okay, all right. So there's a clip of that, but we're having some technical issues. So I want to get your thoughts, guys, on it just strikes me as so odd that we're having problems in Maricopa County. There are all of these issues with, counting the ballots, the computers are down, whatever. And it just so happens that the person who is in charge of making sure that this election is secure is the Democrat on the ballot. Yep. Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to, I almost feel like it was completely intentional just to make us feel like we're the crazy ones, just to like get in that extra gaslighting that we know that they always do. Because it's like, how did this happen? How is this possible that now we're talking about all of these voting, issues? And the person who's supposed to ensure that everything was on the up and up is the person who has the vested interest in making sure that they win. Like, it doesn't feel real.
But it's not just there, though. That's the problem. It's also in Dallas. Like, if, for instance, Lauren Davis, who didn't win, if Lauren wanted to protest and sue, the presiding official over that case is her opponent, Clay Jenkins. That's across the country. Yeah. Some of the candidates running sit over the election process. Now, if you're a judge, how often do we have a Supreme Court justice recuse themselves from a case for whatever reason? All the time.
Right.
She's not recused. Yeah. She knew she was running. She held that position. So, but they don't care.
Katie Hobbs refused to recuse.
Right.
Yes.
They asked her to, and she said, "No, I won't."
Mm-hmm. I'm going to adjudicate over the corruption to make sure I win.
Right.
So now with all of these issues, they already call Kari Lake an election denier. So it's like now with all these issues, if she says like, hey guys, I'm concerned about the results of this election and the integrity of it all, they're going to be like, we knew you were going to do this because you're an election denier. You did it in 2020. You're doing it now. You're just a crazy tinfoil hat wearing woman.
Yeah, it's so shady. This reminds me of the 2020 election. And I knew we were in trouble when they announced that they were going to have George R.R. Martin in charge of counting all the ballots. I mean, I think it'll probably be a few years now with him counting everything. But I think this is all about mass mail-in voting.
Yeah.
It's an absolute disaster. You have so many things that can go wrong with chain of custody, with verifying signatures, with things that are packed incorrectly. So many layers that these have to go through. So many potential opportunities for fraud. We've never seen this before. I mean, 2020 was kind of like the first time we saw this amount of these amount of issues, and I think that the Democrats have always had these really streamlined urban vote harvesting machines that have worked in their favor. They've been really adept at busing people out to the polls, and now with mail-in voting, they have a superpower now. I think it's much easier to sway an election with this mail-in voting, and I think we're going to continue to see really weird, wonky, strange, somewhat corrupt elections until we address this mail-in voting. And the Democrats are absolutely they're going to keep it as long as they can. It's working in their favor.
Absolutely. I think like with COVID, they're constantly saying don't let a crisis go to waste. With that, they're like, here's our opportunity. Well, we can't show. It's not safe to show up on election day. We got to do the mail-in. And oh, by the way, you are a threat to democracy if you want to take away that extenuating circumstance after we're already past COVID.
Yeah. Like the drop boxes.
Right.
Exactly. The mail-in are bad enough. And then you have the drop boxes, which they abused terribly last time. And there's no reason for a drop box. When did that come up?
Right.
Well, it came up in 2020.
Yep.
So you didn't have to be around people and stand in line with them. And so they put these drop boxes where you just drop it off. There's no need for that now. There's no need. But they're insisting that those be available because they can cheat.
Yeah.
But Pat, also only in Democratic areas. Remember the Zuckerberg? He went into all the blue areas and dropped boxes basically as close as 2 miles apart.
Yeah.
Right? And then who picked them up? And those boxes didn't have cameras on them because the official drop sites had cameras on them. It's a joke. It's a laughing matter. Look, the door was opened for corruption, and AKA Africa style. Once a door is open for corruption, it is very hard to close that door.
And I didn't buy it until I saw 2,000 Mules.
Yeah.
But that really opened my eyes.
Yeah.
There was definitely some shenanigans going on.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if it was enough to switch the whole country, 8 million votes or whatever he lost by in the presidential election, but there was a lot of garbage going on. There was, people showing up in the middle of the night, dropping off hundreds of ballots at a time at those drop boxes. And then wearing gloves. Once they heard that they were going to check the fingerprints on them, then they started wearing gloves to drop them off. I mean,
no, they wore the gloves because they were scared of COVID.
Exactly.
Is that what it was? Okay.
But Pat,
I'm sure.
I had to make a call today, Pat. I mean, this is a general question. Do you trust the U.S. Postal Service? Because I had to make a call today, right? For mail that's missing for like 13 days. But we want to mail a vote?
Yeah, right.
Come on, man.
It's insane.
Come on.
And the problem is, too, that we don't have Republican Party leadership that is bold enough to aggressively go after these issues and reform. I mean, we saw what happened in Georgia when they tried to make very modest reforms, very open and progressive reforms. They didn't go far enough, in my opinion. And we saw what happened to them with big corporations boycotting them, the Major League Baseball pulling out the World Series or the All-Star game, whatever it was. Until we get more leadership that is willing to be called a kook and an election denier and all the things that they throw at you, none of this is going to be reformed. They're going to continue to do this as long as they
still
get
have
away.
Dominion machines after 2020. If we really were that upset, which I kind of think we were, I thought we were really upset.
They don't care.
We kind of didn't play that way as a party. Where was McConnell and Graham and these guys saying, we're going to line up. We're not using those machines. We're going to go to war. We're not mailing in ballots. COVID's gone. We're lining up day off. No, we didn't fight that way.
So I want to, I briefly mentioned this at the top of the show, Lauren Boebert holding a really slim lead as of the time of this taping. I'm talking 800 votes slim lead over her Democrat challenger, 96% reporting. You just got to wonder, her district, how does that happen?
And she's a darling child, right? I was there when Lauren spoke at CPAC. I spoke that morning, and she's celebrated by the. I mean, she's supported by her district. So I asked the same question, like, how did this happen? How do you fall from grace like that quickly? But you don't, though. Look, if they can cheat, they'll cheat.
I think people like Boebert and Majority Taylor Greene, they make the DC consultant class cringe, and they're very loud and outspoken. But I think the left is very aware how effective people like Lauren Boebert are, and because of their boldness, they go to Washington to make enemies and get stuff done. And I think if the left is going to target anybody, they're going to target someone like her for sure.
Yeah,
I agree, Pat.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of positioning her as a kook, and anybody who speaks out and speaks their mind and is really strong in their principles and convictions is set up to be a kook by the Democrat Party. They're trying to do the same thing to Ron DeSantis now. That's going to be a little tougher for him because he's beloved. But anybody who has conviction is now an extreme right-wing kook, and that's been fairly effective for him.
Yeah. So we were talking about this briefly before the show. I'm going to go over to Pennsylvania. You guys thought it was bad that they elected a half-dead guy for the Senate. They actually also elected a full-dead guy.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Democrat Tony DeLuca died last month at 85 after battling lymphoma. And he still won Tuesday's election by more than 70 points. What?
Because we have dead people voting. Now the dead's voting for the dead. That makes sense. Our president speaks to the dead. The dead's voting for the dead.
He had. That's what we were saying before the show. Joe Biden he has that special line in because he sees dead people. So he's talking to this guy like, all right, we're going to bring you in. So obviously there's going to be a special election to fill the seat. But
what does that say, though?
That's what I'm saying. What the hell's going on in Pennsylvania? What is wrong with you people?
We need to eject them from the union.
Yes.
It's time. Pennsylvania's got to go. Between Fetterman and the dead guy, come on now. It's over for Pennsylvania.
And I don't want to hear one more person lecturing Republicans on how we need more quality candidates. We need to focus on candidate quality. If the other people can run dead guys and still win.
Come on.
I mean, for goodness sakes, maybe the system's the problem.
But
That's a great
for their party, though, think about this. Why is his name still on the ballot?
I know.
If he's dead.
I don't know.
Well,
they go, you know what? They won't know. Run him anyway. He's going to win. Hey, we beat you with a dead guy.
I wonder if that's I wonder if that's the rule. I know they have really weird rules for who, because you can only be once you're on the ballot.
You're on the ballot?
Well, and you have a deadline, right? So once the deadline has passed,
but even dead,
there's no changes.
I don't know. I'm saying maybe they didn't think. Right? Maybe they didn't think of.
Yeah. Maybe we should run Reagan next time.
We should run Ronald Reagan.
I'd vote for him. I'd vote for Reagan.
Yeah.
Well, it's happened before for Democrats. What's his face? McCaskill, that died in the plane crash. And his wife wound up serving for him. But yeah, dead guys have won in the Democrat Party a few times.
Dead guys voting, dead guys winning.
Yep.
It's crazy.
I wonder if his aides were like, when he died, we're kind of like, okay, let's keep this under wraps. Let's see how long. Keep going.
See how far we can get.
Through,
He's got COVID. He's in hiding.
So I want to play during Stacey Abrams' concession speech, which I'm shocked that she actually gave. I'm sure she was really upset about giving up her governor's seat that she had this whole time. Finally lost. During her concession speech on Tuesday, Stacey Abrams compared herself to Apostle Paul by reciting a Bible passage describing the persecution he faced. Watch.
In the tradition of my friends Carolyn Hughley and Al Williams and Lisa Borders, and because I come by it honestly because my parents are Reverend and Reverend Abrams, I am too reminded of what Scripture tells us. 2 Corinthians 4:8 says this: we are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. I know the results are what we hope for tonight, and I understand that you are hurting and you are disappointed. I am too. We may not have made it to the finish line, but we ran that race, and we know this path, and we know that running is what matters.
Well, I got to tell you, she could use a little running in her life. Joel, I'm going to go to you first. Obviously, managing editor of the Babylon Bee. What's your take on this?
Well, is this what Christian nationalism looks like?
Yeah, right.
What's with all this religious language? I found the verse where Paul talked about his afflictions and his persecution. I want to read this for you. From 2 Corinthians, he says, 5 times I received 40 lashes less 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. A night and a day I was adrift at sea. I don't think Stacey Abrams can claim any of those things. She's been, the only thing I'm sad about with her losing the race is that she's been a great source of satire for us at the B. So I'm looking forward to seeing where she goes next.
There'll be more, bro.
Yeah, I think there'll be more. I actually saw a tweet yesterday saying that I think Florida needs Stacey Abrams. I'm like, please go run for governor down there. That would be amazing. But yeah, I think she's kind of like another Beto. She's going to keep running. Eventually, hopefully, she'll get the picture and bow out. But
it's so convenient.
In the meantime, it's good content.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good content. Look, I'm always happy when we talk scripture and we talk about God here. Did you see this morning they now labeled DeSantis as a person with a God complex?
Yeah.
Oh, DeSantis is.
Yeah, DeSantis is a person
Okay,
with a God
that's funny.
complex. Well,
Okay.
label me as a guy with a God complex all day long. But it's so ironic that Stacey Abrams would quote a Jewish light-skinned guy.
Yeah.
And want to now all of a sudden associate herself with a Jewish light-skinned guy who laid his life down, Stacey, which you have not done for your constituents. Not but one time have you taken lashes. So it's just ironic. When the shoe fits, man, they'll play that card all day long. But they want to go to a Ron DeSantis, who truly is trying to run on moral conviction and on his faith, and they want to tag him as, a guy with a God complex on the same day.
Yeah.
So ironic.
Yeah.
Projection.
Yeah.
Projection.
Oh, absolutely. Pat, last word.
I'm just looking forward to Stacey Abrams going away.
Yeah.
And Beto as well.
You and me both, buddy.
Jeez. Will you miss those showing up at his rallies?
I am actually.
It will be
miss
hard,
that.
won't it?
Yeah, it was this last time on Tuesday. It was actually
mixed emotions.
Yeah, it gave me so much amusement and satisfaction. I was like, I actually am a little bit sad.
And I think they really came to love you at the Beto campaign. They really did.
Yeah, no, they didn't. They actually really hate me. And I also take a lot of pleasure in that. All right, we got to take a quick break. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Home Title Lock. So just in case you think that home title fraud is the kind of thing that happens to other people, not you, right? It could never happen to you. Have a listen to this convicted thief explaining what happens after he forges your home's title and takes over as the new owner.
Nobody thinks that I can take their house and borrow against the house. No, I have title insurance for that. No, it's in my name, or he would have to get some special document. They would call me. Nobody's calling you. After I've stolen the title, borrowed against it, or sold the property, or done whatever I've done with it, it's 60 to 90 days to even figure out that they're the victim of this crime. By that point, you start getting foreclosure notices, and you realize you've got 4 mortgages on your house. Not only that, you don't even own your home anymore. It's not even in your name.
Let me tell you, home title fraud is growing 2.5 times faster than credit card fraud. You could be a victim and not even know it, but here's how to protect yourself and verify your home's title is still in your name. You got to go to HometitleLock.com, use promo code RADIO, and you can register your address for a no-obligation home title report. That's $100 value for free. Do not miss out on this. It is HometitleLock.com, promo code RADIO. We were talking earlier about both half-dead and fully dead candidates over in Pennsylvania who ended up winning. Yesterday, Katie Tur suggested on MSNBC that the half-dead one, John Fetterman, could actually run for president in 2024, which I guess makes sense because we're talking about, he would follow Joe Biden. So they'd just be like, we've just accepted the whole half-dead thing. We're totally fine with it. Watch.
Fetterman as a nominee at some point for president. I know there's some variables, obviously, but just a few. But I just, what he did in the super red, deep red parts of Pennsylvania, and the way that he ran ahead of Biden, as you were saying, ran ahead of Trump. I mean, it just makes you wonder about his future.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So it wasn't just that though. NBC's Claire McCaskill said that John Fetterman just oozed authenticity. Watch.
We should lead the conversation of Oz and Fetterman without talking about authenticity.
Yes.
John Fetterman kind of oozed authenticity. He was who he was. He dressed how he dressed. He was comfortable in his own skin. Meanwhile, we had crudités. And then, maybe the biggest sin of all, the Sunday before the election, or Saturday before the election, he makes reference to people, Oz does, in Pennsylvania. He says, go out and find 10 voters before the Steelers game tomorrow. The Steelers had a bye. They didn't even play the next day. He didn't even know the Steelers' schedule. Not
that.
In a state like Pennsylvania.
Oh, how can he be qualified to be in the Senate? He didn't know the Steelers' schedule. What a crock, man. Jeez. What an idiot.
It was perfectly fine when Fetterman said, the Eagles are so much better than the Eagles. That was okay. That's cool. That's totally fine. The guy's great.
Maybe he was talking about their scrimmage team.
I mean, Fetterman oozed something, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't authenticity. What has the guy ever done?
Nothing.
What, he pointed a gun at a black person that he was going to, I don't know, make his citizens kill on? Or what are you going to do there?
He looks like an escaped convict.
He does.
He really does.
He looks like he is a walking mugshot. The guy shows up in a hoodie, in a beanie.
Yep. And they love that. They love it.
Because they are the land of dysfunction. I was in Portland, Oregon yesterday. Apple still has a 25-foot Fort Knox fence around it still. They love absolute dysfunction. And yeah, listen, it's a lateral move from Biden. It's not even a backwards move. It's just a lateral. Why not? We've hoodwinked them once. We fleeced them. We can fleece them with the hoodie guy. Easy.
It's the neck hump. That's where the authenticity oozes from. It's the back of his neck.
Literally oozing.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned this in the context of Biden, because I just remember how creepily unconcerned the left seemed when all through Biden's campaign there was no one showing up at his rallies. He was gaffe after gaffe. The guy couldn't string two words together, but the left was unconcerned. And looking back, you realize they knew they had a machine that could get him through anyway.
Yeah.
And that same thing in Pennsylvania. I feel like them proposing him, maybe he'll run as president. I feel like they're that confident that they have a machine that can get literally anybody through.
Yeah, their mechanism.
Anybody.
Do you think that they will overplay their hand there in 2024? Because I look at that and I'm like, I think I kind of want them to continue acting like that. I think I kind of want I want Joe Biden to take a victory lap. I want them to do all these things because they are going to be so out of touch with all of these voters who are going to endure all of the inflation, the gas prices, all of this for another 2 years. And then I'm just saying, if we can get someone that's not as controversial as Trump, I know I'm going to make some people mad, but just hear me out. No. Trump keeps his ego up and keeps attacking DeSantis when DeSantis isn't doing anything. Joe Biden keeps, talking, basically doubling down on all of these things that Americans are pissed about. I feel like that sets us up much better for 2024.
You think so, but I think they'll keep doing it as long as they can get away with it. Yeah. And I think the deep state, they love a brain dead candidate. Right. They want someone in there that will let them have free reign. And I do think the left kind of lives in this bubble where maybe they don't see how they look to everybody. Hopefully they do play their hand a little bit. But until you reform the system, it does seem like they can get away with anything.
Yeah, I don't know if they can overplay their hand. I mean, if you can't,
I agree.
That's fair.
If you can't see what's going on now, with inflation, with the gas prices, with the withdrawal in Afghanistan, with a guy who's clearly cognitively impaired, and then you're electing a senator about the same level, and they don't care about any of it. So their base is just going to follow them down that hellhole as deep as it goes, I think.
In the spirit of quoting scripture, and I really believe this firmly, they are under the spirit of stupor. God talks about that. I mean, I don't think, Sarah, that they could ever get to a place where they go, we overplayed. And I've contemplated, what do we do? If we take the House and the Senate, do we impeach Biden just to make his life difficult? We don't want Kamala, but do we just go and say, you're going to pay? Do we go hard after them now in the next 2 years, going after Fauci, going after Hunter, really going, you know? Do we then fire up their base? Do you or do you not? Or do you take the approach that you say, then let them let it burn? I don't think they will ever. Evil has no end. It cannot self-govern. So they follow Satan. So that means this thing needs to go all the way to the ground. So I think the faster we can start swinging back hard, I think you make Biden's life a living hell. You impeach him in the House, and you intentionally do not remove him in the Senate because you have power. And you impeach him again. You tie him up. You make his life hell. You go after Pelosi, Fauci. I mean, you go on a hunt. I just, because here's why I say that. Sorry, I'm being verbose. Our base that we so love, we don't fight. We need to set vision again of what it looks like to actually start throwing punches and fight.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. Do you think Republicans will do that?
No.
I don't think they will.
No, not at all.
I don't think they'll do any of that, Jaco.
Well, concern. That's my concern.
They just don't act like that.
Well,
It's a
I
concern,
think we're at a
Pat.
natural disadvantage too, because to the left, politics is their religion.
Yes, it's their God.
Conservatives, we want to have our families, we want to have kids, we want to be left alone. We don't want to think about politics, and that is kind of our natural disadvantage. Whereas these people who
It's also why culture has gone so far downhill.
Absolutely, and then on the other side, you have people who want to create this utopia in their own image, and it is their lifestyle, it's their religion, it's their reason for being, and so that's a tough thing to
Their
contend
identity.
with.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, let's go ahead and take another quick break. We'll be back with more. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So Patriot Mobile is one of the only companies out there it's a Christian conservative mobile phone provider who is putting their money where their mouth is. Quite literally, they are taking a portion of your bill and they're funding conservative causes and candidates, by the way, who believe in sanctity of life, freedom of speech, the Second Amendment, the things that you actually believe in. And they've been really, really successful at this. They have helped a bunch of, local candidates, school boards, what have you, and they have been getting elected. So they're going to offer the same nationwide coverage as the major carriers. They're all using kind of the same networks now. And you will know that you are supporting conservative values with every call. You know what? There's something to be said for these parallel economies, and Patriot Mobile is on the ground, not only doing the good work, but offering you an alternative so that you know that your money is going to a conservative company. You can go to patriotmobile.com/news, get free activation with the offer code NEWS. By the way, if you're a veteran or first responder, you're going to save even more over at patriotmobile.com/news. So yesterday, Joe Biden was asked by a reporter what he plans to do to change people's opinion of the direction of the country. Because remember, all of this exit polling is like very bizarre results because Republicans did not have that red wave that some had hoped that they would have. But everyone was kind of in agreement that the direction of the country really sucks. So Biden was asked, of course, what are your plans to change the direction of the country? And he's like, I got nothing. Watch.
What in the next 2 years do you intend to do differently to change people's opinion of the direction of the country, particularly as you contemplate a run for president in 2024?
Nothing, because they're just finding out what we're doing. The more they know about what we're doing, the more support there is.
Oh my God.
Do you know anybody who wants us to get rid of the change we made on prescription drug prices and raise prices again? Do you know anybody who wants us to walk away from building those roads and bridges and the internet and so
Yes.
on?
Internet, building
I
the
don't,
internet.
I don't know. I think that the problem is the major piece of legislation we passed, some of it bipartisan,
He works for DARPA.
takes time to be recognized.
What's he done for the internet?
He built it.
He built it?
He spoke
He's
to
building
the
the
guy
internet.
who invented insulin, remember? He also was there when DARPA
The guy that was
created
dead
the internet.
when he was born?
He was there.
Yeah.
Internet 1.0, he was there
Yeah.
in the trenches. You just don't know it, Pat.
Well, I'm just wondering how long he anticipates we have to wait for all of these awesome results from all of the great, cool things that he's been doing.
He's actually being honest. He's not going to change the
No, he
things.
thinks it's
because-
great. He thinks things are
And I
great.
think what he's also saying to you is, you guys think I have the power to change anything. I don't run the show. I just show up.
Boy,
Talk to Barack and Rice.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to change some things.
Yeah.
And it's classic leftist messaging too. I mean, you hear it all the time that it's not what we're doing, it's our messaging. We have to tweak our message, but they're so self-assured that what they're doing is good and right and righteous, and It's just the messaging. Just gotta get it out there. It's wild how delusional it is.
And say it enough.
Yeah, say it more times.
Yeah, they really do, because you've noticed, especially with this administration, that they really genuinely are so arrogant that they're like, no, don't believe your lying eyes. When you go to the gas pump or you go to the grocery store and you see this inflation is actually happening, you see that we're in a recession, we're here, standing up here behind this podium telling you that's not happening. Everything's fine. And they think that Americans will just believe it. And I guess there is a subset of Americans who do.
Apparently.
So they're not wrong totally on that.
Yeah, well, last week he just told us the gas prices were $5 a gallon when he took over.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Make it up.
No, they were less than half that when you took over. So
it seems like you're being picky on the
a little bit.
the
I'd
facts
like
here,
to
Pat.
hear some actual truth come out of him, but that never happens. I mean, the guy stands there and lies to our face and not just small lies either, not just things that are hard to prove, but provably wrong things every day we hear. Every day. And he doesn't get called on it, or rarely.
Because he's James
does he get
Bond,
called
he's
on
got
it.
the license to kill. He can break all social construct, all political correctness. He's the whitest guy whose legs were felt up, his hairy legs, but somehow he doesn't have to apologize for being a white guy. He does. I mean, it's just insane. It's insanity. And my concern is Americans drink the Kool-Aid. Sarah, they actually do. Whether they... Some people did vote for Fetterman.
a lot of
If
people.
one person voted for Fetterman, that
That's too
person
many.
is certifiably insane.
Right.
Straight jacket time.
Well, or I mean, I agree with you. I'd go back to what Joel said earlier, which is politics is their religion. So it really doesn't matter because they've got to get the Democrat in office. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Dr. Oz either. You know, I wouldn't consider him like that's the crazy thing to me is that I'm like, we're not talking about some crazy, far right person. We're talking about Dr. Oz.
Who's barely Republican.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's like the biggest squish ever. And they still couldn't bear voting for a guy who had an R in front of his name. They'd rather vote for John Fetterman. Yeah. It's really sad.
That's what they're doing to Tulsi at the moment, same thing. But if I wanted to see the tape roll of Oprah and all of them, oozing over Oz when they went on his show, when he just came on the air. He was their best friend. He's their buddy.
Yeah.
But they are disqualified.
Right.
Sorry.
I seem to recall another kind of celebrity on television. Everyone loved him. Rappers rapped about him. And all of a sudden, when he ran for office, he was crazy, Republican, right-wing nut job, Nazi. I don't know. Name's on the tip of my tongue. I'll think of it. I'll think of it eventually.
Orange something.
Oh, right, Trump. I want to play for you one more clip here of Joe Biden's press conference where he also suggested that Elon Musk is a national security threat and that his relationships with other countries, Elon Musk's relationships with other countries, not Hunter Biden, not Joe Biden, Elon's relationships with other countries need to be looked at. Watch.
Musk is a threat to U.S. national security, and should the U.S. and with the tools you have investigate his joint acquisition of Twitter with foreign governments, which include the Saudis?
I think that Elon Musk's
Hello.
Yes?
Yeah.
cooperation and/or
Wake up.
Reboot.
technical relationships with other countries is worthy of being looked at. Whether or not he is doing anything inappropriate,
Sign language girl.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that it's worth being looked at.
Yes.
But that's all I'll say.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Cool. Great. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Here's my thought. So are we going to look at Apple outsourcing all the jobs? Are we going to look at Apple's relationships with China? Are we going to look at Apple intellectual property leaking into China? Are we going to look at China making the phones that we have listening in? Are we going to talk about the American companies as allowing China to tap into our power grid in Texas? Elon's a national treasure.
Must protect Elon at all costs.
I mean,
TikTok, TikTok
Yes.
owned by the Chinese.
Yes.
Not to mention Biden's own son and his connections to the Chinese. What about that guy? I mean, the one thing I want to bring attention to is that, Biden doesn't know where he is or what he's saying.
Right.
That question was brought to him by a journalist. Don't you think we need to start investigating Elon and his connections to foreign governments? I mean, journalists, I think, are terrified of what's going on in Twitter. Their credibility is they've already ruined their credibility the last 2 years. And Elon is about to empower, common people. And the voice of dissenting voices against the narrative that journalists have been trying to create and control. And so, I think it's funny that was a very specific, prepared question from that journalist there. They're at war with Elon, for sure.
It's interesting, too, because Elon was a hero to all these people just a few years ago. And then, oh my gosh, he, of course, did the unpardonable sin that he said vote Republican this time because Democrats suck.
Yeah.
And we didn't say it exactly like that, but he did tell people to vote Republican. And now he's persona non grata. Now we need to investigate him. Now we need to look into his dealings. And they probably will try to ruin him.
But Pat,
I would not put that past him.
But Pat, they still drive Teslas.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I know.
Newsflash, it's connected, kind of. Elon, Tesla. Elon, Starlink, it's kind of connected. Oh, that's right. The same government asked Elon, help us in the Ukraine, please, with Starlink.
Yeah.
Can you please fly the satellites over? But we need to investigate this guy.
And Elon, help us with NASA. We don't have a vehicle to get into space.
Exactly.
Can you do something for us? Had to do that, too.
I know we got to go to a break, but I do want to play. I would be remiss if I didn't play Joe Biden while answering a question. I'm sure you guys will be shocked to hear he was really struggling to complete a sentence. Watch.
Biden's being Biden's being an extremist.
What's he trying to say?
So I'm like, was he trying to say extremist the whole time, or was there another word there that he just decided, nope, that one's not coming out, I'm going to pick a synonym?
Started with an A and ended up with an E.
Yeah, not sure.
Jumped a couple vowels.
My favorite is when he gives up and just goes, well, anyway.
Yeah. He goes
exactly. He's like, I gave you my best effort.
I better not.
Yeah. He's like, you know what? I've said too much.
Participation trophy.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back.
This is a circus. We're going to wake up and go, wait a minute, it's 2009.
This past weekend, a trans-identified male, so transgender, they would call it a transgender female. I just want a flow chart. I just want to hold up a flow chart every time we talk about this. Does person have a penis? Yes, we're checking yes on that box today. Okay, trans-identified male became the first transgender title holder within the Miss America organization. Look at this spectacle here. Brian Wynn just crowned Miss Greater Dairy 2023 in a beauty pageant in New Hampshire. Let's watch some of this.
Can we skip to the good part?
Totally deserved. Earned it.
Look at that.
Earned it.
Beauty and grace, man.
Stunning and brave.
What they didn't tell you is the content was on the one with penis is...
Wow, that is, man.
Oh, beautiful.
Sponsored by McDonald's,
So beautiful.
I think. Okay, I watched this earlier and I was trying to process this in my head, all of the different feelings that I had about it. And I'm like, if you're gonna do this, at least bring up someone who looks like Blair White or something, right? Like someone who really, you're like, is that a woman? This is clearly, I guess I should. I'll try not to make fun of his weight, all right? Because he's
got
a
bigger
teenager.
shoulders than I have.
This is not. If this was a woman, I'm sorry. If this was a biological woman in this competition,
Does not win.
Never
win.
She does
Would
not
never
win.
win. Would never win. But you throw a man who's wearing a wig in a dress that he shouldn't be wearing, and you're going to give him the crown, and all the girls next to him are clapping.
That's my problem. That's my problem. All the people that swam against Leah.
Right.
That showed up to get in the water.
Right. Why are you even
want
there?
to swim? On the whistle, on the gun, in the water, we all watch. Swim by yourself. There you go, sucker. No, joke's on you, right? That's despicable.
I will say
one.
For those girls, though, they were pissed.
They were pissed.
They were pissed.
But Pat, I mean,
at least they spoke out about it.
Yes, they did. These ones are clapping, right? And then compare this winner to like a Caitlyn Jenner. I mean, they make Caitlyn look like a supermodel, right?
I mean, so just to throw in here, and Joel, I want to get your thoughts, but he's receiving a scholarship that is designed to provide. This is the program they're providing scholarships to young women between the ages of 17 and 24 living in the greater Derry area, recognizing their outstanding achievements in scholastic aptitude, talent, character, community service, and poise. This is a scholarship designed for young women, and he's stealing it.
Yeah, you remember hearing during the Hillary Clinton campaign and even before that, we heard so many Democrats talk about the war on women.
Yes.
That the Republicans are waging a war on women. This is the war on women. They are taking opportunities from young women, scholarships. They're trying to erase women as a category of human being. This Dylan Mulvaney guy who thinks he can appropriate motherhood. He's going to be a mother someday. I have a wife. I have 5 kids. I know what motherhood looks like, and no man could ever do.
No man
could ever do that.
No man.
And all that aside, these beauty pageants are weird anyway.
They are weird.
That was a dairy competition, though? Is it who ate the most dairy? Is this who ate the most ice cream and heavy cream?
Maybe he did.
You got your winner right there. If that's what you're supposed to do,
he was
then
like,
he
watch
wins.
me. I'm going to eat the whole cow. Watch me. I'll win this. I got him in the bag.
He's worth his weight.
Yep.
He's worth his weight.
All right. I'll throw in for you here. We've got about a minute left in this segment here before we got to take a break. Palm Springs, California. Drag queen walking on stilts and showing his bare butt at of course, one of those, family-friendly Pride events. Let's watch that. There it is. Oh, wow. Look at good. There it is. Just right there. I mean,
there's just no such thing
right?
as a family-friendly Pride event. There's just no such thing.
As it turns out, there is absolutely no such thing as a family-friendly drag show. But listen, they're not trying to like indoctrinate your kids or anything. I mean, how could that guy know that he would be on stilts and people would be able to look up and see what was underneath?
Look, I don't know if there's something wrong with me, but when I see that image, you know what I'm thinking? Dang, dude, I'd love to have a cattle prod right now. Just, give it 240 volt, just let's zap that backside, just sack.
See if you could stay on the stilts afterward.
Show it again, I dare you. Show me again.
There.
You want to have some electricity? We'll give it to you, buddy.
Oh boy! All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Yeah.
Unreal.
It really does show how we have.
The New England Journal of Medicine released a new study titled Lifting Universal Masking in Schools, COVID-19 Incidents Among Students and Staff. And in this, the researchers claim that masking in schools, actually, you didn't realize this, it helps stop racism. They said, our results support universal masking as an important strategy for reducing COVID-19 incidents in schools. As such, we believe that universal masking may be especially useful for mitigating effects of structural racism in schools, including potential deepening of educational inequities because you're not losing in-person school. I'm having a really hard time figuring this one out. Anyone? Anyone got anything for me? Anyone?
They got to talk race.
You can bring anything back to race. I think the iron law here is that anything our corrupt, incompetent regime wants to do will stop racism.
Right.
Any voice of opposition to what they want to do is racist. So that's, I mean, and enough people fall for it that it works.
Yeah, and racist and Nazi and homophobic. Xenophobic,
fascist, of course, sexist, you got to throw that in.
Yeah,
transphobic,
all the phobics,
Islamophobics,
really.
all the phobes. Yes, you need all the phobes.
What color should the mask be? Because it can't be black, because that's blackface, right?
Oh, you're right.
It can't be white, because that's bad color.
Yeah, you don't want to be white.
Can't be white.
Nobody wants to be
no
white.
No black mask. So maybe it's the rainbow.
That's the only option.
Well, now I'm mad.
You should be.
All right. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see y'all tomorrow.